Hello everyone, my name's Sammy and welcome to my channel. The theme for today's yin practice will be summer, which is the season that we're currently in. In traditional Chinese medicine, the element that will complement summer is the element of fire, okay? The meridian points for our fire or for the season of summer would be the heart, the pericardium, which encases the heart and protects it, the small intestine, and also the triple burner or triple warmer, which is basically the systems that regulate our organs. Okay, so the emotions that invoke summer or fire, that traditional Chinese medicine theming, would be things like passion and joy and melancholy. So it's quite up and down in terms of emotion. So we can have high highs, low lows, we can be open and we can be quite closed off. So huge shifts in the emotion. With today's practice, as we move through the poses, maybe we can try and aim for or intention our practice on finding a sense of balance, okay, some equality in our emotional state. As always, we're going to listen to our body and just make any adjustments that we need to. I will be offering cues for this. If you're feeling a little bit tight in some areas, we'll use the breath to help guide us and smooth out, maybe lengthen muscles, bring some space into those joints. The poses will be held for approximately 3 minutes, but if this is a little bit long for you, and I know sometimes it can be for me, it's totally okay to pull out of the poses a little earlier. There's always a little bit of a settling time when we come into each pose when we're doing yin. So say the first 10 breaths or 30 seconds as we move into the pose, allow some time for adjustment, okay, to find our edge, that point between comfort and discomfort, and a time that we're able to settle, okay? So making any adjustments in that earlier part of our pose as we come into it, and then, allowing the time to settle in. Well, I think that's about it. We might move on to our practice. We're going to focus on poses that really open up through the heart space, but we'll be using the whole body as well. So so not just around the chest area, everywhere we're going to be using. So we'll start off with a little bit of mobility just to get the joints moving. Nothing too crazy here, just some soft, gentle movements. So if you'd like to join me, we're going to gently nod the head up and down. Just take your time and take this as an opportunity to just notice how you're feeling today. And then we're just going to turn the head side to side, relax the hands on our laps. Make sure we feel nice and comfortable in our seat. We're not forcing the breath, just allowing the breath, just ear to ear here, just a gentle ear to shoulder, I should say. Just allow the breath to flow freely, not forcing. Nice. And then from here, some gentle shoulder rolls and a couple the other way. Nice. And we can start to circle the elbows, bring the wrists in, maybe give the fingers a little bit of a wiggle, and then change direction. Lovely. And then some easeful movements of the spine, rounding and arching the spine. Maybe a little bit of a twist here, floating from side to side. And then reaching over, opening up the side of our body. Just priming up our joints, our muscles, the spaces between the bones. Get the fascia moving. Lovely. Let's do some circling of the lower back. Slow and gentle, changing direction. Nice. Now, I forgot to mention, I'm sitting on a blanket here, and that just helps to bring comfort to my lower back and hips. So that may be an option for you. Before we go any further into, actually, we'll have a chat while we're doing our mobility. So I'm going to turn on the side, hop off my blanket. Just while I was just about to change, it reminded me to mention something. Okay, so we'll just do some windshield wipers here. Yes, props. Grab all the props that you want to use. We are going to be coming into supported fish towards the end. Let's pick up a leg, bending and straightening the knee, and then moving on to the ankles and then toes, giving them a circle and a wiggle. Yes, we're coming into supported fish at the end. So you'll need something to support your spine and your head. So it doesn't have to be a bolster. It can be, like I said, a blanket, a rolled up towel, whatever you've got handy, really. And yeah, if you want a little bit more extra solid support, I'm using blocks, but if you don't have blocks, do not stress. Things like books or anything firm that you can use as something to prop up to give you some support. And I think that's about it. I think, oh yes, very lastly here, I'm not going to talk much, which is unusual for me. I'm not going to talk much as we move through today's practice. I'll cue you into the pose, and then once we're all settled, I'm going to allow for you to have some reflection time to notice how the pose feels in your body without me chatting in the background. So if you notice that it goes quiet for the couple minutes that we're into the pose, that's what's happening today. All right. So if you're ready, we're going to begin. And the first thing we're going to do is, I'm going to sit back on my cushion or on my blanket, is we're just doing some neck stretches. All right, so we want to sit comfortably. You do not have to have your legs crossed. You can have them straight in front of you. You can have them out wide, whatever feels comfortable, okay? So from here, we want a comfortable length of the spine. And the head is easy on the neck. Just relax the shoulders down from the ears. So we're tipping one ear to the shoulder. And then once we get to that point, you may like to kind of gently rock the head. This is our settling time. So gently rocking the head forward and back, nice and slowly, and then just see if you can find a spot that you want to hold the stretch in. It could be, just a little bit tighter in some areas. Now, this part of our neck is very sensitive. So we're not straining to do this. We're finding a gentle passive stretch. Now, we can extend the opposite hand. So we find a sense of lengthening down the arm. You may feel that through the fingertips. And you may even want to put your hand on the outside of your head, so just gently pulling. So just be mindful to be super, super gentle with this one. And yeah, so now we know what we're doing and we're in our position. I'm going to be quiet and allow you some time to just settle into your next stretch. You may like to shut the eyes or soften the gaze. Let's take 5 more breaths here before we start to ease out of our neck. Stretch. And then when you're ready, gently press your hand on the side of the head that you've bent to the shoulder and help ease it up to your neck's upright. So from here, we're just going to relax the shoulders, maybe do a few little gentle rolls and take a moment in rebound. So our rebound is that time where we allow the stretch to land. We start to feel the benefit of that lengthening. Just notice how our neck feels after we've held that stretch. Beautiful. So from here, we're going to actually do eagle arms. So we'll do stretch, eagle arms, and do stretch on the other side of the neck. So bring the arms out away from you. Bring them about right angles. Now there's 2 options for this actually. Option 1 is to sweep your arms. Now let's say we go right arm or left arm underneath right, so right arm on top, and we can just hold this like position like we're giving ourselves a big cuddle, which is kind of like, you know, theming for our practice today, heart and warmth and that sort of thing. So the essence of this pose is to open up through the upper middle back and the back of the shoulders. So if this is where you want to be with your eagle arm cuddle thing, that's fine. Otherwise, you can follow me with holding eagle arms. So what we would do is we would bring our left arm onto right and kind of weave our arms in front. So how many times you twist around is entirely up to what your mobility is like in your shoulders, your wrists. Once we've done that, we can gently lift the elbows off the chest to a height that you can hold. Okay, so we don't want to be in pain when we're holding our poses. We want to become into, you know, a comfortable but sort of semi, like relaxed state as well. So it might feel, stretch always feels a little bit kind of not uncomfortable, but you can feel a sensation. So yeah, so you don't want to be in pain. So yeah, so anyway, you can lift the elbows off the chest, maybe a slight tuck of the chin, find a bit of length through the back of the neck. Whatever your option, once you've settled in, we're going to begin our hold here. And again, I'll just silence and allow you some time. Let's take 5 more breaths here before we begin to ease ourselves out of this pose. Relaxing the shoulders down. And then when you're ready, gently letting go of the arms. Let your eagles fly free. Some gentle arm movements. Landing your arms. Take a moment here. Allow yourself to be fully present. Bring your awareness to your upper back, your shoulders, your shoulder blades. Just begin to notice any sensations that may be coming up. Lovely. So we'll move on to our next stretch for the left-hand side of our neck. So we're going to tip the ear to the shoulder like we did in the beginning of the last time we did it, and just do a couple of rocks here. Just allowing the shoulders to relax by your side. And then when you found your sweet spot, holding stillness here. Again, you've got those variations of extending the opposite hand and then bringing the other hand over to kind of gently pull on the side of the head again, just being mindful to be careful here. And then once you're settled in, I'll gently ease you out of this pose in just a few minutes. Let's take 5 steady breaths here before we begin to release from this pose. And then when you're ready, placing your right hand on the outside of your temple and just gently helping that head to come up to straight. Again, you may like to just make some gentle movements of the neck, the arms if they've been extending and holding. And then when you're ready, coming into a place of stillness, they were able to allow that pose to land. Notice if this side of the neck feels a little different to the other. All right, so we're going to come into eagle arms on the other side. So last time we had the left under right, so the right arm on top. So this time we're going to do the opposite. So our variation was we could give ourselves a nice big cuddle, working the fingers around towards the back of our, towards our spine. So we're kind of opening up through the shoulder blades, or you can come into eagle arms. Now, my hips cramping up here, so I'm actually going to extend my legs. So when we're holding poses, we want to feel nice and steady but comfortable. So please make any adjustments, okay? So from here, we're going to bring the right arm under the left elbow this time. And I notice myself, and I don't know whether this is the same for you, but I find I've got a little bit more of mobility here, so I'm able to wind the forearms around each other a bit more. So yeah, that's really normal, that one side of our body's got a little bit more mobility and strength than the other. So anyway, here we go. So winding around or wrapping your arms around your body. Take some time to settle in. Once you've done that, we want to just relax the shoulders down from the ears, a gentle tuck of the chin to the throat, just to find a sense of lengthening through the back of the neck. We can lift the elbows off the chest. And then once you're settled, let's take a few moments here, a couple of minutes, and then I'll ease you out of the pose when it's time. Let's take 5 steady breaths here, smoothing out the edges. rising and falling of the torso as we take those breaths in and out. And then when you're ready, release your eagles or your cuddles. Let's bring some gentle movements back into the arms. And then when you're ready, relaxing the arms on your lap, taking a moment here or two, just to notice how we're feeling, both physically and emotionally. And then when you're ready, we'll move on to the next pose. So this one here, we're still seated. We're actually going to sit wide-legged. Okay, now how wide that you have your legs is entirely up to you. Now we want our legs to be passive. So, you don't have to try and do the splits. Just bring them as far apart as you're able to, just allow the legs to be heavy. We're going to come into a side bend here. So I'm actually going to use my props for this one. Okay, I'm going to give as we come into the side bend, I'm actually not going to bring my arm over my head. I'm going to give it a little break. I'm going to wrap it around the back of my arm. Or you can even put it on your hip, or, we just want the chest to remain open. So have a little play on where you want your arm position. But let's do first things first here. So I'm going to reorganize my seat. And then from here, play with my blocks. Now, I was doing this yesterday and I noticed that when I did one side, I had the block up kind of two stacked on each other. But when I went to do the other side, I had to change the height, and that's really normal. Okay. So if you are using support, you might be noticing that one side's a little higher than the other. So that's okay. All right. So from here, I'm going to rest my elbow on my arm. I might take a bit of a stretch with the arm over the top and just see how this feels for a little while. And then if I feel my arms getting tired, I'm just going to wrap it around my back. Okay. So once you've figured out where you want your arm to be, both the one you're leaning on, you can even just put your hand on the ground. You don't even have to use blocks. So you can just pop your hand on the ground. Once you've sort of sorted that out, let's take some time here to open up through our hip, widen the spaces of our rib cage, just popping our gaze wherever it feels comfortable, allowing the breath to flow through the muscles and the joints. Allow the breath to help anchor and settle us into this pose. Let's take 5 breaths here. You may notice that when you first come into the pose, the sensation's quite strong, but as you hang here a little longer, it gets a little lighter, the sensation. It's not so strong. And then from here, we can use our arm strength to gently press us upright. Maybe some gentle movements. I'm going to do some circling here before I come into stillness. And then taking a moment in the quiet. Just allow that pose to land. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the same on the other side. So if you're using your props, pop them on the other side. Okay. All right. So it's okay if one side has to be a little higher or lower than the other to get a sensation that you might want to achieve for your stretch. Okay. Because that's just the way our bodies are. So pop them roughly in line with my hip. I'm going to reach my arm up, come on over. And come into our side bend. Now we want to have the sit bones just firmly planted into your mat. Focus on keeping the legs heavy, the feet relaxed. And then once you've settled into your pose, let's just let the lengthening begin. And then when you're ready, gently start to ease out of this side, using your arm strength to press you up. Add any movements to help bring you out of this pose. And then taking a little time here in stillness. Lovely. Okay, so we're going to come onto our knees. So we're doing a thread the needle and another pose after that on our knees. So we'll be doing two poses. So yeah, one on one side, one on the other. So we'll be holding this for a total of about 9 minutes for 3 poses. So I'm actually going to use something to pop under my knees because I get a little sensitive. So yeah, again, grab anything that you need. I'll grab my blanket. A great thing about using a blanket or a towel is that you can kind of change the levels up depending on what you're doing. Okay, I think that one might be a little bit too puffy, so I might try that. Okay, let's begin. So I'm going to pop, make that down a little bit longer. Okay, so pop my knees on top of my blankie, hands under shoulders. Okay, so from here, we want to lift up our right arm, sweep it up, opening up through the chest. And then when you're ready, we're going to tuck and reach. Bit of movement through the spine. So you could inhale and open as you open up through your heart space. Exhale, tuck and reach. Last one, inhale, turn and open. And on your exhale, we're going to tuck and reach. And we're going to hang here for a while, okay? So a variation for this is you can keep your hand near your shoulder where you had it before as a setup, or you may like to pick up that hand and sweep it over the top, okay? Now, with your neck, we want to be mindful not to kind of sink into the neck. So yeah, so we want to be comfortable. So add any props. If you feel more comfortable being a bit more up and pop a block or something under your neck or a pillow, that's okay. So take some time to settle in. And then I'm actually going to take my glasses off for this one as well. And then, yeah, I will gently draw you out of this pose in a couple of minutes. Let's take 5 breaths here. And then when you're ready, if you've extended that hand above your head, bring the hand back under the shoulder, push through the ground. We're going to add a rotation, opening up. We'll actually do 2 of these just to add some movement back into the spine before we take a pause. And then from here, we're just going to melt down onto the ground so we can completely just relax and allow that twist to settle. And then when you're ready, bring the hands under shoulders, big press up onto the knees, and then let's do the other side. So I'm actually going to bring my mat a little bit further this time. Okay, so starting up with your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, roughly there. We're going to breathe in and open up our heart space on the left, and then tuck and reach. Let's do 2 more of these to prime up our spine on this side. Tuck and reach. 1 more. And on the last one, we're going to hold it there. And then you've got your options of keeping your hand here, or even you can relax your forearm on the ground, and then, or you can extend the arm above your head. So take some time to settle in. Find that place where you can maintain this pose. Allow the breath to help you relax into this pose. And then I'll gently draw you out of this pose in just a few moments. Taking those 5 steady breaths before we start to gently release from this pose. And then when you're ready, if you've extended the hand above your head, bring that back to under the shoulder, pressing up to tabletop. And then we'll do a few opening and closings of the chest and the shoulder blades before we come to stillness. And then just coming into a position that you're able to take some time in the quiet, just a few breaths here. Take a moment to notice how the body's feeling. All right, so our last kneeling pose will be melting heart, okay? So or puppy dog pose, it's sometimes what it's called as well. So what we'll be doing is starting off in tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and then from here we're going to start to walk the hands in front, okay? And we're melting the heart down, okay? So we want to be fairly passive in our arms. So I'd suggest just resting the forearms on the floor, okay? You can pop your head on a block or a cushion to add support. So we're melting the heart down. If you're finding that leaving the hands in front of the shoulders makes the shoulders feel a little clunky, take them out a little wider and see how that feels, okay? So have a little play. The essence of this is to get a gentle back extension and open up through the chest. And then once you're in a position that you're able to maintain for a couple of minutes, I'll gently draw you out of this when we're ready. Taking those 5 last breaths before we start to ease out of this pose. Allowing those breaths to maybe help melt your heart down a little further towards the mat without pushing or striving. Just allowing a gentle release. And then when you're ready, start to bring your hands back under your shoulders. Ease yourself up. And then we're going to come down onto the mat on our tummies and come into Sphinx pose. Okay, so coming down. Now I'm actually going to have my mat handy because I might need it, or have my blanket handy because I might need it for support. So easing down. Okay, so we wanted the legs and the bottom to be like jelly, nice and heavy, floppy around, no effort whatsoever. This is a gentle extension of the spine, so make any adjustments that you're not feeling any discomfort in the lower back. So this may be grabbing your blanket or your cushion or whatever you have handy, might double it up. I actually like this variation. It gives me lovely back support here. So I've kind of got it just around about my tummy underneath my chest. And then you can also play with your elbows coming slightly forward of the shoulders. So we want our forearms to be relaxed, our legs, gently sinking the neck into the shoulders and popping our gaze into, an area where it feels comfortable for the neck. So you might be looking slightly ahead or down. Okay, you know your body. So listen to it, make any adjustments. And then, let's allow our body to just melt into this pose. Let's take 5 breaths here. Smooth and long. And then when you're ready, we'll lower the chest down onto the ground, come into crocodile pose. Take a moment here. You might like to give the hips a little wiggle. And then when you're ready, settle into stillness. And then we'll start to move onto our spinal twist. I'll move my blocks. So rolling onto your rolling onto your back. All right, so I'm going to take my little butterfly clip out. Yeah. All right, so we're rolling onto our backs. All right, so if you want to take a movement break here, add a couple of windshield wipers, and then when you're ready, we're going to drop both knees over to one side. So it doesn't matter which side you start with. We can add our blankets or blocks or whatever for knee support as well. So if you've kind of decided to do twisted roots, which is crossing one leg over the other, but you need a little bit of contact between the knee and the floor, grab your blocks. I'm just going to stack one knee on top of the other. We want to allow the shoulder blades or the back of the shoulders to just have a soft contact with the floor. So extending the arms out a bit to just help anchor those shoulder blades down. Now you might like to look the opposite way, getting a little bit of length through the neck that's on the same side as the knee. Okay, maybe stacking one hip underneath the other. Just whatever adjustment that you need, that you're able to get a passive spinal twist from the middle of the back to the lower back. Okay, so once you've found your position that you want to be in for your twist, breathe some space into those joints, those muscles. Acknowledge any thoughts or feelings that may be coming up while we're in this pose. Know that if you are a little distracted, that's okay, perfectly normal. Know that you've got your breath to help anchor you, to keep you grounded. And I'll leave you in a moment of stillness and quiet here. Gently, before we move out of this pose, just taking those 5 breaths, making them easeful without effort. And then when you're ready, start to lift the knees and bring the hips to the center of your mat. Maybe taking a bit of a movement break here, windshield wipers, whatever you need. And then coming to stillness, allowing that twist to land before we come over to the other side. And then when you're ready, we'll take both knees over to the other side. So you might like to scooch the hips over to the opposite side of the mat. Your variations of stacking hips or crossing legs over into twisted roots, or even extending the top leg. Keeping those shoulder blades grounded. Arms are heavy. And settling into our gentle spinal twist here. And then when you're ready, I'll bring you out of this pose in a few minutes. And then finishing this pose with those 5 breaths. And taking your time to release and unwind. Bring the hips to the center of your mat. Again, taking that movement break. Gently rocking the knees from side to side. Coming to stillness when you're ready. Allowing that twist to land. And then we're going to come into our final pose. So I'm going to come onto one side, press up. Okay, so our final pose will be supported fish. Okay, so this is to help open up through the heart space, anahata. So from here, we will need to create a little bit of a sausage or something that we can lie along our spine. Okay, so have a little play with your whatever you're using. I'm just going to roll up my blanket like a big log here. Roll, roll, roll. Okay, so we want the blanket or towel, whatever you're using, to support you in the just above your bottom, your lower back, right up to the crown of your head. Okay, so from here we can lower down, and then so opening up through the chest, through the rib cage, through the belly. Now with the legs, you can do whatever feels comfortable. So if you prefer to have your legs just outstretched, that's fine. If you want to come into a reclined, almost like a reclined butterfly, well, it is a reclined butterfly, that's all good as well. Whatever you decide, we want to just allow everything to just melt and go heavy. Okay, with your arms, again, you can have a little play with what you want to do. You might want to rest them on your heart and your belly and feel the breath move through your body. Let them hang out the side. You might even want to come into like a cactus arms. For me, I'm finding that's a little bit too active for me today. It's nice for opening up through the chest, but I just want to really let go. So I'm actually going to find putting on my hands on my heart and belly is going to be, for me today, the best way to find a sense of connection to my body and the breath moving through it. So take your time to settle in. And then once again, coming into our last pose, I will draw you out of this in just a few minutes. Let's take those 5 breaths to finish our pose. And if you have got your legs in butterfly, we can bring the hands to the outside of the legs and press the knees back together, give them a little bit of assistance. So we're coming into Shavasana, our restful pose, the most important one, I think, out of all of them. This is where we get to reap the benefits of our practice. So coming into a position that feels super duper comfy, totally effortless. I'm actually going to lie on my side here. So I'm going to make a little bit of a pillow slash cuddle thing. And yeah, but you do what's best for you. We want to be feeling nice and rested here. So take some breaths to help you settle in. They might be deep breaths, maybe more awareness breaths of where you're breathing into, your ribs, your belly, your chest. And then again, I'll gently draw you out of Shavasana in just a little moment. And then when you're ready, we're going to begin to awaken the body. You may like to stretch or wiggle, roll wrists and ankles, maybe a deeper breath, whatever you need to do. And if you haven't done so already, rolling over to one side, taking a bend in the knees, using arm strength to press you up to seating. And come into a position that feels comfortable. I'm going to come onto my knees here. All right. So if you'd like to join me in closing today's practice with your hands at your heart space and a gentle bow, as we thank our incredible and beautiful and amazing bodies for moving and for being still today, for our breaths for nourishing us, and for our minds for guiding and supporting us. Thank you so much for sharing today's practice with me, and the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. I'm hoping that you feel as stretched out as I do. I definitely feel like I needed that. Have a beautiful day or evening whenever you've done this practice. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe, share, like, comment, do all those YouTube things. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Take care.